I have 7 o'clock, if you'll join me and stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first part of tonight's trustee meeting will be a public hearing on a change in our zoning regulations to allow for artisan businesses. Melanie, do you want to give a brief description of what the changes are?
Yes, I will just read verbatim what the zoning code amendment would be. It is a definition for an artisan business, which is a business with a skilled workforce that manufactures a high quality or distinctive product in small quantities, usually by hand or using traditional methods with very little mechanization, with or without retail. The primary structure shall not exceed 5,000 square feet of space by outside dimensions, exclusive of porches, garages, cellars, or basements, and the structure must also be a permanent foundation. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this change to our zoning resolution? Okay, I guess we can close the public hearing.
We will now close the public hearing on the change to our conditional use language, and I would ask for a motion to adopt the language as proposed by the zoning board.
I will second that motion.
Got a motion from Bill Mason, a second from Melanie. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
And I'll just add that I think that this is another way of us being business friendly in the community for the types of businesses that we're trying to attract. And I think it'll be a good fit for Granville Township.
Great, thank you. So that's it on artisan businesses. If any of you would love to stay, you're more than welcome to. We're now going to the normal hearing, or the normal meeting.
Just it?
That's it, it's done. Are you the artisan businesses?
Yeah, well, hopefully the beginning of them.
Okay.
It's just a point of clarification. There is a 30-day referendum period, so that will start after the vote tonight. So after 30 days, then it becomes law, and then at that point, apply for conditional uses.
Now we're good to go.
Yep.
And you can speak with Travis on applications and all that involved with the BZA.
You do have to apply for a BZA. This is a conditional use that has to be approved by the BZA.
And he can help you through that process after our referendum period.
Only excellent. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You do the same.
Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes, I did. Did you want to move up anybody?
I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. We have the special meeting on February 10th. I've read them, I agree, and I would move to approve the February 10th special meeting minutes.
Yes, I've read them, so I'll second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have the February 11th regular meeting minutes to approve. I've read them and I would move to approve them.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have the February 25th minutes to approve. I would make a motion to approve the February 25th minutes as proposed.
I'll second those minutes as well.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. They're opposed. They passed. Public comment. Bruce, why don't I ask you to speak first?
Oh, okay.
Were you going to speak
I
tonight?
saw us farther down in the agenda.
I'm moving you up so I can get you home, but if you're complaining, I'll leave you here.
Yes, sir. No such thing.
Please approach the microphone.
Thank you. We,
I really don't mind moving you down around 10 o'clock.
no, I'm
That's where you'd
good.
like to be.
I'm good. I'm just surprised, but that's.
For the rest of the people in the room that maybe don't know you, you might want to introduce
I'm Bruce
yourself.
Kramer. I'm the executive director of the Brindue Mansion, or as many of the Welsh in this part of the country call it, the Brindee Mansion. Reprimanded every now and then for saying it wrong. Our annual report, we gave you guys a copy earlier in the week, and hopefully you had a chance to peruse it. Lots of fun information and pictures and so forth. This year was all about the carriage house. It ended up being about a on our budget, it said about a $250,000 project. The Brindle Commission paid $150 of that $250,000 project. Of course, all of that money that comes into the mansion, and we're kind of a pay-to-play kind of a place. Everybody that uses it pays to use it, and that's what we do with it. Minus the AEP bill and the Columbia gas bill and my exorbitant salary and lavish benefits package, all of that money goes right back into the mansion property. We did some other stuff in addition to our carriage house. And the carriage house, by the way, is getting a lot of use by a lot of diverse groups, club groups, business groups, and social groups. So when we knew that when we would build it, they would come. So that's a nice thing. Of course, we have to continue our maintenance and all the other things we have to do to operate the 52 acres up there. But we've had thousands and thousands of visitors, and it's great when visitors come from outside of the area and look at it and say, this is truly a gem. I suspect that the people around here are very glad that you keep it well maintained and so on. And we do, so thank you for saying that. Continuous improvement, historic preservation of the property, and thousands of visitors from near and far add up to another successful year. Our addition to that hyperbole, we have our financial statements in here. This was as of the end of October, and you can see that at the bottom line is a negative number, but it is not a negative number in as much as we have money in the bank. We spent more last year than we took in, but we pulled it from our reserves to do the carriage house project.
Which is not recurring.
Correct.
You'll spend money this year, but probably not that much.
We'll spend money this year, but probably not that much. Our budget for this year for capital projects will probably still be in the $100,000 range. The village usually, there's no guarantee, but usually gives us $50,000, and we, through our user fees, match that and then some. In fact, going back to our 2013 capital projects, how we made the carriage house work, since it was a pretty big ticket item for us, was we took our 2013 $50,000 allotment and our 2014 $50,000 allotment, added that together, and then added another $150 to it. So to make that project happen. But in 2013, even though they gave us $50,000, we didn't spend their $50,000. We spent an additional $55,000 in other capital improvements that we did to the property. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we are fiscally strong and fiscally responsible, yet we have a lot of fun up there too. I want to hand everybody one of these. This is our latest spring events. We call our spring events Life Local, and it is lots of different events. The Garden Club events, the Daffodil Show, the Red Cross has an event, our lecture series. There's a lot of very interesting lectures this year. Rotary's going to have an event up on the property this year. We have our art show that starts next Thursday night. If you like wine, cheese, and art, we will have those three things in abundance at the mansion next Thursday night for the opening, and that's about a 10-day show. And then plus all the other things that we're doing up there in the spring. Polo will be back on the front lawn. We're not sure if it'll be back every Sunday, but it will be there as usual. And I think we've had a good year and looking forward to spring.
Any questions?
Fellow trustees, I took the liberty to call Bruce yesterday, and I told him that I'm probably the only guy that read every single page of his monthly reports, because what he's doing mirrors what we've done up on the campus with the old house on the campus. And I told him I'm also probably one of the only people that laughed at almost every one of his reports, because the things that have broken the vying for dates, those are all things that we go through as well, so. And I think there are some things that we can share in subcontractors and all that kind of thing, so. What is the vintage of that building?
1905.
1905.
Is that the central core, because the wings were added later?
No, the wings were in 1905. The center core was 18. Oh, I should know this, but I don't.
1905.
Okay.
A long time.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I'd
Thank you.
like to thank you for the job that you and the board have done in bringing that building and property back from near death. And you've really done a great job on a really slim budget. And I would be remiss if I didn't sing the same refrain that I sing every year at this time, which is, you're very special to us, and we actually have an investment in the front lawn. And the GRD is special to us as well, born out of the township. And we philosophically, fundamentally object to government money having to pay other government people, and the residents give us money, and we think that all the buildings, whether they're ours or the colleges, or not the colleges, I'm sorry, the schools, or yours, are funded. And we appreciate the way you've worked with Andy, and would ask you to continue working with Andy whenever you can, because he's got limited funds, you've got limited funds, and charging him to use the facility when they both come from residents.
Well, our funds, the village has, over the past several years, they give us $25,000 and say, run this 52 acres. They give us more than that, actually. $25,000 in cash, but they cut the grass. But out of that $25,000, I pay the electric bill and the gas bill and all these other things that have to happen. So I have to find a way to make that, the rest of that, and then still do the stuff that we do.
And we understand, and rehabilitate a very old building.
Sure.
And you're doing that progressively, floor by floor, building by building. All we'd ask is that you continue to keep in mind that the GRD is publicly funded as well, and continue to work with them the way you have. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks for the job you've done.
Thank you.
Would the GRD like to speak tonight?
Yeah.
You don't get to go home afterwards. You don't get to go home afterwards.
Yeah, I get to say.
Yeah, you does.
I'm on here later, huh? Well, you know, if I really came tonight. My name's Andy Wildman. I'm the executive director of the Granville Recreation District. Came to let everyone know that our trustees approved the lease with the change of property lease at the top. It's a Granville Township Granville Recreation District property lease. That change will enable us to apply for grants. That I don't know that property usage would have enabled us to apply for grants in the same way. So, you know, as always, I want to thank Bruce and Larry for what they do for us. We have had a bigger footprint out there. Paul, I echo your sentiments. We actually talked about that. I thought that was a big takeaway from the sustainability meeting this week about you know, local government working together. So, you know, as always, just I want to say thank you and to everyone for their support. We've also posted a maintenance position. Just wanted to make everyone aware of that. As we as the rec district grow, we want to make sure that we can be sustainable as well and be responsible for our increased operations. We've got 900 kids ready to go here, youth sports wise. We've got a couple new special events, one of which is going to be taking place at the mansion. We're going to do a community movie that we're working, that will be on the front lawn for families. We're working with the public library, and we'll be showing Big Hero 6. If you want to go check that out and buy a tasty treat from a local food truck. So again, just a big thanks, and that's all I have until later in the evening.
Are you requesting space here for a truck? Can we get that on the agenda to
Yeah.
talk about that? Why don't you talk about that?
Sure. So you know, we're looking to do you know, as we move forward with internal maintenance, and I actually think that project for us will save us some money, and it's also going to give us, I believe, higher quality control as well. So really looking forward to that. As we work into that, and wondering if we could utilize some space at the township maintenance facility for a truck, a trailer, and some mowers. We have a storage facility at Raccoon Valley Park. We're gonna be cleaning that out. We're gonna be trying to do some of those things. But as we work towards that and we roll out this maintenance aspect of our organization, we're also gonna be cutting grass and fixing ball diamonds and fixing dog parks and all that stuff. So it might take us some time to get that facility where we need it to be. So if we could start here, that would be huge for us.
Travis, what about our garage down on River?
Yeah, Andy and I talked about that. They're more than welcome to use it. We've cleared a lot of that out. I think talks with Andy, they might need just a little bit more room than that. But they've already kind of utilizing part of that down there as we speak.
Oh, okay.
But that is an absolute option.
Well, you're our liaison with the GRD, thoughts, comments.
Are you able to pinpoint an amount of time that you think?
Well, I would hope it would be, I talked to Travis about it, it's one of those things that I would hope is 1, 2 months, maybe 3 months. But I also know that, like our staff of administrators, our maintenance staff is gonna be small. Our rainy grass season could slow that down, so potentially could be longer than that. But I think ideally, it's, 2, 3, 4 months.
Do you have any problems with any of that?
I think I'm comfortable with a 3-month range for starters, I think.
And then
Starting point.
maybe like after that, if you thought it was gonna be longer than that, then it could be a move to the River Road building.
So why don't we make a motion to allow him to have space here, and then your employee would report to work here?
He would, yeah. It would depend on the day. Maybe if he had a meeting with us or he was attending our staff meeting, he might start here or start at our office on our staff meeting, then come here and get the truck and the trailer, and we can work on those. But we wouldn't be asking for any admin support for like a time clock or anything like that. I also think there's just a lot of synergies, I think, in the future as well, whether it's equipment, jobs that we can work together on. You're so right, Paul, about just, working together as a community and sharing resources.
So the motion would be to allow them to have space to store equipment here till the end of June.
When do you think you'll have some
Have an
time?
employee report here?
Yeah. I don't know that they report every day, but
No, that's-
primarily, yeah.
Okay.
But if he's gonna still need another month to get someone on board, then maybe.
The posting closes this week.
Oh, okay.
We're hoping to have somebody start the last full week of March.
Okay, so that would
We're
give
a
you.
couple weeks to plan.
Okay, so maybe till the end of June.
Yeah, the end of June, so I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I just have one more question.
Sure.
So any employee that the rep would have, even if we were gonna share resource and everything, it would never be anyone borrowing our equipment of a new employee that you wouldn't be familiar with. You would have our person working with them, their person, or how does that work in the
Yes, we
past?
haven't discussed it.
Because he hasn't had a person on his staff before, so I just wondered, would there ever be a situation where a GRD staff person would be using township equipment?
I think we need to discuss that a little further for insurance purposes and stuff like that.
We'll store their equipment, but
Yeah.
put them on our equipment.
Yeah, I was wondering
Opens up a
about
whole new
follow-ups,
set of
yeah.
issues.
And since it just hasn't been
Sure.
raised
Notwithstanding.
before, we've always had our person helping with our own equipment. Okay, I just wanted to ask.
That's something that we could discuss, but I think it needs discussed, to look at it.
And the motion is to give you space until the end of June. If you see that not working, come back, we can extend that. I think for us, making sure that you're tucked in somewhere else before snow flies is important, because we're gonna need all the space we can in the winter.
Okay.
But if you need more than June, tell Melanie and she'll come back and we'll readjust. But-
Great.
Okay, so I've got a motion, a second, there's been discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Can I get a copy of the most recent draft of the lease?
I emailed it to you.
Did you recently?
The only change was on the front page, the word lease.
Is that recently or?
Within the last week, you can send it to me.
Okay, I didn't see it.
But
I'll take a
I
look.
can send it again.
No, let me look. I just want to read it before we vote on it. I wonder
Okay,
if
so
I-
we're not gonna be prepared to vote on that tonight then?
I'm not,
No,
I'm sorry.
you didn't see
Because I
it,
didn't
okay.
see it.
Okay,
It's my fault.
I should have verified that everybody got it, that's my fault. So I guess we'll talk about that, or we'll vote on that at a subsequent meeting.
Okay.
Probably in the next meeting, in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like me to stay for any other reason, or I'm happy to stay, but if you're gonna vote on that first one, I'm happy to stay.
Punishment alone?
My wife would say yes.
Tell Dallas we said hi.
All right.
There's been 11:19.
Thank you.
Great, hey, thank you guys
Thanks.
again, thank you for the support, for everyone, thank you.
By the way, I learned tonight that there's someone in the community that has a strong background in recreation. Is that right, Larry?
I know, yeah, we're gonna have lunch soon, I'm really excited about it, I would love to, and you can even put on a record that I offered to take Larry out to lunch, so I can, I'm looking forward to hearing, his experience and.
I didn't know that. I think
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Sittler, would you like to be moved forward on the agenda?
Yes, please.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
A couple of issues before I discuss the main reason I'm here. Yesterday I had the opportunity to stop in and have a nice chat with the chief of our Granville Township Fire Department. I made Chief Hussey aware of a program that the producers, oil and gas producers in Ohio fund. It's called the Ohio Oil and Gas Energy Association. And their office actually is where the UGA office used to be, just a couple buildings up here on Route 16. These folks have an energy education program where they educate teachers and students in school, but they also have a state-of-the-art program whereby they train fire departments of how to deal with oil and gas fires. The seminar is $750 per person, but if you're from Ohio, they waive $700 and it's $50 per person. There's 4 seminars a year. They train you on how to deal with fires that are natural gas related and crude oil related, which are totally different. And we're proud to say that Ohio pretty much has the state-of-the-art program that a lot of other organizations in the country are modeling after. We've trained over 1,000 fire departments in Ohio and other surrounding states. So we had a nice chat, and if there's funding available through those guys or through you guys or whatever, I strongly encourage that program because it will provide a nice.
We have several people who have attended in the past.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We have several people who have attended in the
Okay,
past.
I just want to make you.
So you find that
aware of that.
something you would use?
Occasionally, yes.
Hopefully we'll never have to use
I
it.
was just gonna say that. You're not coming in to talk about oil and gas fires because you think
No,
we're gonna have.
we're not, but at the same time too, it's something, that you need to be aware of.
Thank you.
Since we're live and on camera tonight, hopefully on the late night news, a couple things I'd like to say, and that is, when I've come to these meetings for the last couple of years, the rose amongst all the thorns sits right over here. I want to say thank you to Betsy for your time and your efforts here. Now we have 2 roses amongst the thorns with Trustee Schott showing up. I also, I know Bill and I know Paul and I'm getting to know Melanie, and I know how hard you guys work and how much you care about your job. I don't think you get paid enough for what you do, but even though I'm a Union Township guy, I appreciate your service to Granville Township. So, having buttered you up and told you what I think of you, I'll now get to my point of my agenda. We have talked previously, a couple meetings ago, about our desire to acquire an oil and gas lease on the Peak Lodge properties. And I know Mel and I have talked several times about that, trying to educate her on the pros and cons and the process and what's all involved. There's a lot of questions that you would like to know answers to: what, where, how much, when. I can't answer those yet. So I think probably the best thing to do is rather than discuss with you the concept of an oil and gas lease, we'd like to discuss with you the concept of acquiring geophysics or seismic. This will enable us to figure out when, where, how, answers, how much, answers to questions that you guys don't know the answers to. And neither do I, but once we do this, then we'll be able to know. The timing of this is dependent upon a couple factors. We prefer not to do it during the crop season because we have to pay for damages for crops and disrupt farmers a little bit. It's all dependent upon weather a little bit, crew availability. We also are starting right in the middle with you guys, and we're able to work out a permit for you to be able to grant us the right to acquire seismic. Then, if, for example, we wanted to evaluate an area as wide as this piece of wood on the floor,
our seismic line needs to be at least 2 or 3 times wider in both directions. And so we have a number of people to the east and west of your tract that we're also gonna have to get permits from and work this out. Some of them we have under lease, some of them we're talking about leases. So we don't know exactly when this would happen, but certainly during this year. I've emailed you all a draft. This is one that's a little bit more detailed. It's a standard seismic permit form from our contractor, Precision Geophysical. It's got specific reference to the tract of land we'd like to work on. And in particular, it indemnifies and saves you harmless for any claims, damages which might occur as a result of our operations. We've acquired, I think, over 70 miles of seismic data in Granville Township, and short of one drain tile that we damaged and fixed, that's the only thing that I know of as far as any quote-unquote damages that we've done in the township. So it's a harmless process. It involves sending of sound waves in the underground, recording those things as they come back to surface. So we would like for you guys to consider granting us a seismic permit. I'll leave this with you for further discussion.
Scott, kind of taking lead on this.
The only thing I've done is when I received the seismic testing proposal from you, I did forward it to Austin, prosecuting attorney, just to ensure that anything would not be binding, any type of this was a binding agreement, and he did not feel that it was.
Yeah, there's nothing in that that says
Just
you're
asking
obligated to
for
bring a
permission
lease.
to test on the property.
I beg your pardon, sir?
Tonight, you're just asking for permission to test on the
Just
property.
permission to do the seismic and.
And if we were,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, I'm sorry.
No, are there obligations on our part? You do the testing. I mean, that costs some money, and it costs you money, so you've got an investment. Are there responsibilities on our part after you do the seismic
No, sir.
testing?
No,
That was my question to Austin as well, if we would have any responsibility if we chose not to enter into a lease, or if we,
yeah, based upon that information, if it appears that some are a part of this oil and gas reservoirs underneath your lands, we would come back to you and request to negotiate an oil and gas lease. Maybe it would be a lease in which we have the right to drill on you, maybe it would be a lease in which we don't have the right to drill on you, but it can include your lands in the unit, so you can be part of the royalty generating unit, but yet nothing's on your land. I expect to get back in the mail tomorrow a signed oil and gas lease from the parcel that's due west of you on the Crater property. Chris Crater and his wife Bethany Lovell recently purchased that property, and they are granting us the right to not only conduct due diligence, but actually drill a well on their property. So we will have the space to drill a well on somebody else's land other than yours. The benefit to the township trustees and to the township itself would be that if you decide that it's not your cup of tea to have us put anything on you, if there's some of this feature underneath you, we can include you in the actual drilling unit. By doing the seismic, I can show you where it is, how big it is, what percentage you would have in the drilling unit compared to the total. But there's no obligation on your part whatsoever on anything other than having us to grant the right to do geophysics.
so fair statement to say this is free information. We'll get more information from this than what we have right now.
And it would enable us to better answer some of your questions, like where and why, and what percentage and how big, and unfortunately, we don't know until we do this information.
So if I might, for the benefit of everybody, this is not precedent setting. We have given this right in the past at Raccoon Valley. And we conditioned the right at Raccoon Valley to seismically test on Mr. Sittler working with the GRD so that what he did didn't interfere with what they were doing down there.
Did you even do the seismic testing?
We did not.
No,
You
they
did not.
decided not to do it, but we did grant it. We have a number of entities. We have some things going on out there. The Conservation Club will be there until probably mid-year. The GRD will be taking off over after that. They may be having functions there, so what I would ask is when you know about this period of time that you're going to do this, if we grant this tonight, that we could condition this approval on you working around both the GRD and the Conservation Club, so we don't have you setting off small explosions and kids playing in
I understand, and I was gonna say that based upon your concerns, we can customize that a little bit, like first of all, notification, we'll agree to notify you at least 2 weeks ahead of time when we plan to do this. We'll coordinate these activities around any activities that you have planned on that property. I think there's also been expressed concern that we do not conduct these such activities until after a certain date, be it June, be it July, when we're willing to do that. So I'd encourage you to, discuss this between you and figure out what kind of conditions that you want to put on
Well,
there as well.
what I would like to do is have you, I don't have any problem voting this tonight and proposing it for vote tonight, as long as you'll accept the conditions that we have tenants and people that lease the property, and that we've got to coordinate all that. And if we put some language, I'll ask Melanie to work with you to put language in
Okay,
here
that'd be
that
fine.
protects our tenants, our partners, and will coordinate that. Then I would say that I would move to allow for geophysical testing, so long as those conditions are in it. And when those conditions are satisfied, I would propose that Melanie be allowed to sign it can be me. You want me to sign it? I don't care.
No, it doesn't matter.
No, you're working it out. I mean.
Yeah, oh, the
but-
agreement for the seismic test
That's
after the
all.
conditions.
That's
Okay.
right, after you've included the conditions
Okay.
that you think best protect us and the GRD, and you're the liaison with the GRD, so you'll know best,
Okay.
and the Conservation Club, Dave Hill and people, not Dave Hill.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so once you've worked that language out that's been added to this, then Melanie has permission once we vote this.
Okay, that's gonna be good. Notification and just making sure that we don't interfere with planned activities that you have.
Absolutely, I just
Well, I
don't
was
want
doing that
your
myself
seismic
anyway.
testing to go on when somebody else has a scheduled event there. Either the gun club, if it happens before they leave, we've terminated the lease with them, or with a GRD, a wedding or a
Okay.
graduation or something, you're out there.
You don't wanna set off explosions during weddings?
No, sir, it really don't. It really would bother me a lot.
How long of a process is that? Is that a day or?
The process involves, first of all, we, surveyors with the GPS backpack survey it, stick pin flags in the ground. Within a week to 10-day time period, we come back and we drill 2-inch in diameter, 10 to 20-foot holes in the ground. Those are loaded with like a firecracker type of a charge that has a wire comes back to the surface. Within 2 or 3 days after those are in the ground, we come out with a crew that lays out a whole series of super sensitive listening devices that are all hooked together like on an extension cord. Then you have 2 crews that start on one end, and you'll have a 2-man crew really walk along and wire his individual pack back to the charge in the ground. A guy in a truck will actually set that charge off, and these guys stand no further away than trustees Jinx and I. It's not the kind of thing. I think only 1 or 2 times that I've seen in Granville Township does it actually vent back to the surface. Those holes are backfilled with limestone chips so they don't settle in. Once those charges are set off, the crew will remove all the super sensitive listening devices. They'll pull the pin flags, they'll pull the wires out of the ground, they'll backfill it, they'll rake the hole so there's no settling, and you don't even know they're there.
Will that be on the township's property, or could it be the farm to the west?
Well, see, the problem is when you do geophysics or seismic, if I do a seismic line that's a mile long, it's kind of like a watermelon, and that is both sides of the watermelon have a rind that's not any good. And so you really have to build up quality of the seismic. And if we do a mile seismic line, you've got about 500, 800 feet on both ends where the data isn't really good, but it's pretty good in the central part of it. So if I wanted to evaluate just this tract of land, I couldn't do seismic from here to here. I gotta do seismic from here to here. And so that's why we're gonna need to work with some of our lessors and also some of the folks that we're talking about leasing with, both east and west of your tract of land, in order to be able to do this.
So this seismic testing is really just for the
Yes, no.
trustees and for that parcel? Not
Yes.
for everything?
Not for everybody, this is just, we have to get that same permit signed from other people that we do not have oil and gas leases with, which, such as you guys. Our oil and gas lease form gives us the right to do geophysics, so if we have you under lease, we don't ask you to sign a permit form, we'll give you what's called a seismic notification form, tell you we're coming, and communicate with you.
And that authority, Jerry, expires a year. It's not in perpetuity.
Yeah, that one, I've suggested 2/28/16, which gives us, less than a year to do it. It's dependent upon a number of factors. People we still need to get to sign the seismic permit, people we still need to get leases from, availability of crew. So there's a number of factors that come into play.
Any more discussion?
No?
I have a motion, I have a second, there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, as soon as you and Melanie can work the language that protects our partners and tenants and lessors, then she can sign it and it's official. That doesn't presuppose we're going to the next step. It
Well, I understand,
says
it just, that's, we
we
understand.
go this far.
We understand.
Good, anything else?
There you have my contact information. I can get this from Andy probably by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, all right. Well,
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming down tonight. Say hi to Penny for us.
All right, we'll do.
Is there any other public comment?
Oh,
Room kind of thinned
I'm the
out.
only one left.
That's why I asked. Okay, correspondence received and sent. Officer Miller.
Okay, I know trustee G's been working on some billing for the Rotary Bridge project for the ODNR grant, and that has been sent to ODNR, so to get some money back from them. We have $150,000 that we funded, and that's a big chunk of that will be coming back. I did send local waste services the signed contract by the trustees, and so they have a copy of it, and I'm kind of waiting to hear back on the operations bond, so I talked to Eric today about that, so we'll get that all taken care of. And then sadly, I just received, I knew I was gonna receive this, resignation from Betsy, who has been the secretary for a couple years now. And I know she's got a new job in Columbus and it's taking more of her time and kids, and I know she's got a needy husband and so, anyway, we will
It's
post
late
that
bingo night.
vacancy. We'll post that, and that is for recording here as well as the zoning commissions as well.
When's that effective, please?
It says it's to be effective as soon as the new recording secretary is employed.
Thank you for doing that for us.
Oh, boy, thank you.
For staying on until we find somebody. Appreciate it.
Okay, that's all I have for correspondence.
Trustee Mason.
I do have more from the elected official report.
Okay.
If you want me to do that now.
Sure.
Attended the Economic Sustainability Summit. It was this past Monday, and I think that went pretty well. All three trustees and myself attended, and it was good, and the chief, and there was good representation from the schools, village, GRD, and chamber as well. Also wanted you to know that I did receive another refund for an estate tax, and this one came from Knox County, because that was probably where it was filed. And they are asking for $56.50 back in inheritance tax. So I will go ahead and cut that check and have the trustees sign that probably next week when we pay the bills. And that'll just come out of, once we get our permanent budget approved tonight, that'll just come out of our other expenses from the general fund. Okay, I did pass out supplemental appropriations. We had one, and you can thank the winter weather because it was overtime in the roads district. I had budgeted $6,000, and we were able to just spend a little bit over that. So I had to move some money over to base hour this week.
This winter would be the exception to the rule.
I'd like a motion to accept that supplemental appropriation change.
So move.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And then also passed out a list of warrants and checks and EFTs, and you've all had a chance to sign those, so ask for those to be approved.
I make a motion to approve the warrants.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Okay. This time I'd like to talk about the 2015 permanent appropriations. And I passed out sheets to the trustees and to the superintendent and to Chief Hussey. And today I met with each of the trustees and discussed this. We've been discussing this for a while. And we had a special meeting on that was a month ago, February 10th.
10 February.
Yeah, and what we decided in that meeting was we needed to consolidate, try to reduce some of the number of items that we had. I had proposed a certain level of control, because it's a area where instead of approving a 500-line budget, you can set up levels of control. So I came back and talked to the state auditor's office and got some recommendations from them. And from that, you have in front of you the sheets, and it's kind of each line item. The one I'm going to ask the trustees to approve is that kind of that bolded area under each of the funds, where you're going to be approving the dollar amounts under salaries, under fringe benefits, purchase services, supply materials, all those different items that are within the budget. I do want to point out a couple changes that I made to this since we met today. I had missed $1,000 in mulch from the cemetery fund, and repair and maintenance in cemetery. I had mentioned that I didn't have any money there, and so talked to Travis and we agreed on $2,000. And then he also said, well, I'm going to be replacing some of the pipes in the cemetery, and so that can fall under supplies, and I put another $700 for supplies. So those were the changes that I made to the cemetery from what you had seen earlier. And then under the fire department, one of the capital items the chief looked at this afternoon, and we had missed a couple computers that he wants to purchase. And so under the capital, I put another $5,000 for computers.
What line item is that?
That would be the line under computer system. It is the very bottom of the fire department. If you look on the far left, it's line number 373. I'm sorry, 372. New computer systems.
Okay.
2,500 outright for a computer,
I'm sorry?
2,500 for a computer.
We're looking at the worst scenario. These are ruggedized mobile computers used for patient reporting and medics, so we have a couple that are about to be replaced. So that's kind of worst case scenario. It'll be a little less than that.
So this will cover two.
It would.
And the other item I put on there that was not in the total, we usually transfer $175,000 annually out of the operations from the fire department into the fire department equipment reserve fund. So I've added that line in there as well, and it's highlighted, and it's just below all those grand totals. And that's that $175,000. I also added.
Where's that money coming from and going to?
Where's it coming? That comes out of the regular operations of the fire department. And then we transfer it to, and there'll be a motion on that when we do that. We usually do it towards the end of the fall, later in the year. But that's that annual.
But approving the appropriation doesn't mean we do it. We vote for it when we do it.
Right.
Why last year? Is that the same one where we did 115 last year instead of the 175?
Yeah, because we sold the Land Rover, and that Land Rover.
What's the difference?
Okay.
Went in.
Reduce that 1 year contribution.
Okay.
So I probably should have put the Land Rover income in here and transferred it out to keep it clean, but
I got you.
That's okay.
anyway, that's what happened, and that's why that was less last year. And certainly, when we get towards the end of the year, we wanna look at this, it makes sense to look at how much money we have in there and what your equipment schedule is. I know we wanna buy a couple things in the next couple years, but you can look at that and decide if that's the right amount of money, or you don't wanna put any in there, or maybe you wanna put more, because there's lots of options. I also added the green space onto the back of this. I just put some basic assumptions of numbers. And so if there's any questions on that, I put $1 million in for land development rights. I know it depends on whether we get federal matching and what properties come up this year. It could be $1 million, it could be $500,000, it could be $2 million. I don't know what we'll have, but just to have a number out there, I put the $1 million in. So again, all those lines that are highlighted and they have a little description on them, that's what I want to put into this resolution. And there is a resolution that is kind of created by ORC, and the resolution just says Granville Township Annual Appropriation Resolution in the Revised Code, Section 570538. And Betsy, you don't have to write all that down because I've got it. It just says the Board of Trustees of Granville Township, Lincoln County, Ohio, serve in their dual capacity as Board of the Township Trustees of Granville Township and the Board of the Granville Township Road District Trustees. Met in session 11th day of March 2015, Township Garage, with the following members present. Jinx, Mason, and Schott, and so moved, and then the resolution will be resolved by the Board of Trustees, Licking County, that to provide for the current expenses and other expenditures of said Board of Trustees during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2015, the following sums B and the same are hereby set aside and appropriated for the several purposes for which the expenditures are to be made for and during said fiscal year as follows. And then the as follows will be all these items, and then I'll have a voice vote if you approve that. So
I would move as you've read it. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, the only other change I know that I just wanted to bring up basically for the record, is the change that was made in the budget to allocate all trustee funds under the general fund. And I know I've talked to Jerry individually and Paul and Bill. I just had a concern with us going to the taxpayer in November asking for a general fund, that we're doing further damage to our general fund by allocating all of our salaries out of that fund when we by law do not have to. And I just had, some conversations with people who have been in Jerry's position before to do this, and I think that when the state of Ohio took money away to local governments, they changed the law to allow you to allocate salaries out of different funds for a reason. And I know that it is cumbersome to do the timesheets and it doesn't really make the most sense, but for a township like us who is struggling with our general fund dollars, to me it makes the most sense right now to allocate from other funds if we have that ability. And I have fear of us being asked if we're running out the funds when we don't have to.
Couple of responses to that. One is, because we've allocated them to the general fund, doesn't mean we have to take them out of that. If you file a timesheet, we can do a fund transfer and put them wherever you think is appropriate, or wherever any of the trustees think are appropriate.
Will that be cumbersome for Jerry to do though, because it's not in the budget?
Not any more cumbersome than all the fund transfers we've done all these many years.
Okay.
But it's almost impossible to budget accurately if you try to guess at the beginning of the year where everybody's gonna allocate their time. So by putting it all in one place, if people decide to allocate someplace, well, we can move it out. But in the past, Jerry's had to over-allocate in various funds because he wasn't sure if trustees would take money out of those funds. So this doesn't preclude you from filing a timesheet.
And for me, my position, I'm generally pulling from the general fund. It doesn't really pertain to someone like me, but there could be a time in the future we're
This
working on
doesn't
the
mean
fire.
that it has to be spent the way it's budgeted. It's a matter of convenience. Because
So would you agree that when we're heavily working on open space issues, that we should allocate our salaries towards the open space fund?
I think I committed that to you in our conversation. To be very frank, I always feel like I've not done something that's legal when I guesstimate how much time comes out of fire department. So I meet with Jeff, try to meet with Jeff every Friday. Is that 1%, 2%, 10% of everything that I do in the township, or what? So I've never felt comfortable doing that. Same is true with the open space. So I'm very amenable to, if I spend tons of time on open space, right now I'm spending time on trash.
Right.
But,
And like I said, my stuff comes out of the general fund
Yeah.
at the time I'm spending right now, but I just see a time in the future where we're gonna be working on fire more. And also the open space program, I think it's important to distinguish that that program doesn't run itself and that it doesn't need to pay for itself when we're
well, I'm
spending
willing to do
considerable
that
amounts of
when I
time
have a
on it.
block of time that I've spent on a particular
Okay, so that's all I want to say
The
for
other thing
the.
you said, and I suspect you didn't mean exactly what you said, and I just wonder if you want to correct what you said, was that we're going to the voters in November for a levy.
No, we went to the voters in
Oh, I
November.
thought you said, and that we would go to the voters in November for a levy after we've done this.
No. I meant that we had gone in November, asked for a general fund.
I'm fine. Because I don't know that we've made any decision about going to the voters.
No, I did not
Okay.
say that. So that's the only thing I have. I seconded the budget.
My only comment is, I like approving this budget at the fund total lines as opposed to doing on individual lines. It just makes it much more convenient, and what we're looking at is the total spend on these funds as opposed to how much we spend for rivets in the shop. So I think it makes it.
Jerry had to get me up to speed to understand it this afternoon, and I'll admit it, I learned
It's
the
a
other
mu-
one.
It's a much more convenient way to do it without losing the accuracy. We don't want to be, if we overrun, I'm just looking at one called the election expenses. In the past, we had to approve the movement of money into election expenses. Now that's grouped into,
No, I agree, all agree,
And
but,
Jerry can just merely move it.
right, I get that, and it will
I
make
think that
his
makes all
job
the sense in
easier,
the world.
by consolidating
Okay.
this.
Well,
Okay.
just to clarify before you vote, just, under the fire department, under the roads, under open space, what we had spent to date on trustee salaries and this business office, I took those, what we spent year to date, and the only thing that's in those items are what we've already spent.
Right,
And that's fine, but that's accurate, because we actually made the budget after we'd spent 2 months.
Right.
So we knew what the spend was, so the budget accurately reflects what we spent to date. We're simply parking trustee salaries in a holding place where we can, once we know what is real, we can bring it back into the right areas. It doesn't preclude us from doing that. But it makes it easier to budget, because we're not trying to guess ahead of time where people are gonna spend their money.
But
It's a convenience for budgeting.
But for example, under the salaries, and it doesn't matter which one you look at, there's no more money under that salary subcategory to pay for any elected
no, he said we
officials.
have to do an appropriation
I
transfer.
conditioned it on appropriation transfer.
And where are you gonna transfer it from?
Probably from the general fund, because that's where it's budgeted.
So we wouldn't have the ability, if we're working on a fire station this year, okay, maybe I didn't understand what you were saying.
What has happened is, year-to-date, the trustees have reported where they spent their time, and that's accurately been reflected in this budget, because the budget wasn't made before the fact, it was made after the fact.
Mhm,
Okay, prospectively, for the rest of the year, all of our time is allocated to general fund.
mhm.
But if, in our judgment, we are spending a lot of time in any one area, he can transfer money out of the general fund where the allocation sits. It's not like going after the general fund, okay, and he can bring it back to that area. Or, if we talk about it at the time, we can discuss it at the time, he can take it from the fund area where the money was spent. So you could take it out of,
So you had money from the general fund allocated into your budget before that was for trustee salaries, but under your fund?
Money that was charged to the fire fund originated in the fire fund.
that's right.
So
So if
this
we
money
spend a lot of
would not
time,
come out?
if we spend a lot of time working on a fire issue,
Mhm,
and there's no money budgeted for trustees in the fire department,
mhm,
that money can come from a carryover,
mhm.
or it can come from the general fund. And we can make that determination when that happens. Those are the two places.
Whereas before, though, it would have come out of your fire fund.
Yes,
Correct. So you're saying two different things, and pardon me if I'm overstepping, but I think your idea of transferring from the general fund really is different than what has happened in the past. What really would have happened.
That's right.
It would have been a transfer from within the fire fund.
and I'm saying that may still happen.
Right.
I'm saying we'll make that determination at the time that we need to do the allocation. What I'm saying is that in the past, it was impossible to budget where trustees were gonna spend their money. So trustees were, there was extra money put into trustee salaries in every one of the funds. More than, the sum of the three trustees totaled more in total funds. than
Right,
we
I
were
know
ever
for
going to
budgeting
spend.
purposes, it was.
For budgeting purposes, we put them all in one place, so that the budget more accurately reflects what our spend is gonna be. And then when we determine, if we determine that it should be allocated someplace,
But then, in your scenario, we're still always spending down the general fund.
no, didn't hear me, I said it can come from one of two areas. We can draw down on the cash balance that we have in that fund, carryover, or we can take it from the general fund and we'll make that determination at the time we move the money. It can come from either. It wouldn't be budgeted to fire at the time, but we would take it out of the carryover and fire, so it'd have the same impact.
So one of the things I don't have on here is, and I probably, based on that conversation, probably need to add a line in here that is either what we call a contingency fund or the carryover amount that would be available.
And when I chatted with you today, I thought you said you were going to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we need to do that.
But that's what I thought you told me when we chatted earlier today, that you were going to do that.
There is the other piece of the budget process is trustees are allowed to set aside what you're gonna actually carry over from 1 year on forward. You can also have a line item that's called contingency, a line item for it, and you can put a certain dollar amount there. So I guess my recommendation based on this is that we go ahead and under each of these funds, we have a line that says a carryover amount.
Do you want to vote it tonight, or do you want to hold?
I think it's up to whatever we have available. Because we have that,
I'm not sure you answered my question. Do you want to vote this tonight, or do you want to wait until you put a carryover line in?
we can vote if you give me the authority to put in a carryover line up to the amount that we have approved on the amendment certificate. Because that's really the difference. Everything here.
Then the motion needs to be amended to approve the action as it was originally presented and add the carryovers that are on the amended certificate.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can go
So
up to
that's the
this
amended
dollar.
motion. Do I have a second?
A second, so.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It does make, our next effort here is to project into the future when levies will run out, when we'll have money. And having, for lack of a better term, bulked up salaries for trustees, which was the only way we could do it in the past, because he wasn't sure where we were gonna do it. This is gonna make it easier for us to look at total dollars. Maybe not by fund, but it'll tell us more where we're gonna be when. So I think this is as good as we're gonna get right now, and I thank you. Anything else?
Just a comment, in reducing a lot of these, they were categorized differently. A lot of things were under the 599, which was kind of an other things. They really were operating supplies and things like that. And so I moved a lot of things to those new categories, working with the chief and with Travis. So we've already spent a bunch of money this year, so there's gonna be some juggling that's gonna take place. So be flexible with me over the next month as I try to get this all in place based on the new budget that we have.
We had far too many line items. We had, what, 419 line items.
Yeah, ideally, we would have done this, all these changes going into a year, not a couple months into the year. So, but we will work through it. Be better off, I think.
I can just say, first of all, I want to recognize Jerry for lots and lots of hours working on this, and the end product is probably a much more functional budget. I will also say, though, that I think in moving a lot of things into new names, new categories, there's probably a couple things that have slipped through the cracks. So if you'll bear with me and Travis, when we get to about September, we're going to be putting our hand up saying, well, I think we missed something. So I don't think there's anything major, but I think there's going to be a few little details that were kind of lost in the shuffle, despite everybody's best effort.
I would say, in answer to that, I'm not sure we refined it as far as we could refine it. I think it's a work in progress, but I'm really pleased with the progress we've made. But by doing this, it's made it tough for us to compare last year to this year, because lines are different. Well, why did we spend more this year? Well, this year, you're actually incorporating 3 lines from last year.
Yeah, it looks like a 400%
Yeah,
increase when I
which
look at
isn't
it, so.
necessarily the case. We're changing this kind of on the fly. I think future trustees or years in the future, people are going to be happier that we've done this. It's going to be a little painful this year, and perhaps a little into next year, but it's a work in progress. But I think it's a much better budgeting tool than what we had in the past. We just had far too many lines, and it was just impossible to predict. So I think this is a better deal. Anything else? Jared, you're still on.
And that's all I have.
Trustee Mason?
I did attend the joint communications meeting. I've been in contact with Eric DeHaze with Local Waste Services on just about a daily basis. He is really good to work with, very good about getting back to you. At this point, as of today, he reports that the registration is going quite well. He asked if we could put our reverse 911 announcement out midweek of next week. And Jeff needs a message to send, so I will, get that message from Eric Prado. I've taken a number of calls, but they're mostly people who know me that just had a question. It was an informational question. So we just had one person that's had a problem with the procedure, and he's registered the whole thing, but he still has a problem with the procedure. So but one out of the whole township at this point, I think, is a heck of a track record. So also,
They say how many they've signed up?
when I called Eric today, he said he didn't have enough time to get that figure, but he believed it was well over half of the people.
Wow.
The universe is 1,500 and something. So we already have signed up over 750. Good.
Yeah, he said they're just flowing in.
So you've done this in years past. Would you say the amount of calls and emails that I've been seeing that the two of you have been handling are far less than what
They're
happened
minimal
compared to the first time? Okay.
But I will tell you, there's going to be a problem because
The pickup.
there's a
of
number of people in our community that are in Florida
Yeah,
and won't get back until after they've started the service.
yeah,
And they're gonna still think that it's Big O.
yeah.
And we're gonna go through kind of a secondary problem
Mm-hmm,
where we've gotta get everybody up to speed and get them signed up after they return.
mm-hmm.
So it's,
Oh, with email and everything, you never know. Some people might be handling this stuff from Florida.
we're gonna get the lion's share of it.
Mhm.
And the fact that we've got 50% now pleases me. But there will be 15, 20, 100 people that will return, that didn't get the email, that didn't get the blast, that didn't get the letter, that didn't get something and didn't call and sign up, and they're gonna wonder why their trash isn't being picked up. And local has promised that they'll work with those people,
Mhm.
so,
Great, it sounds like it's going very well.
yeah, no, I think it is. Anything else?
I also attended the sustainability meeting, as the rest of you did the other night at the high school. I thought that's, I realize it's the second meeting, but I think it's at a good start right now. Thank you.
Good. I attended the sustainability meeting, and everything else I have falls elsewhere in the agenda in the shop.
My only would be, I did attend the economic sustainability. I also attended the MS4 audit overview, which I updated each of you, I think by telephone on that. That resulted in just putting together a binder about our compliance for the MS4 permit. And IT's Travis told him I was creating my exit strategy as a trustee, so that whoever inherits that someday will have a place to start and know what all information, how we're compliant. The way that that permit works is we are responsible for all of these areas of compliance, but it's a consortium of different entities within Licking County, and we may like Licking County Planning Department may be filling part of our requirement for the permit, and I just listed it all out. So if anybody wants to take a look at that if you're bored one day, Travis has it. We would be submitting the permit for 2014 tomorrow, or this week. Yeah, sometime this week. Travis has it done. So we can take I guess we don't need to discuss that later in the agenda. The other item would be that I just wanted to let you know that I'm working on creating a Facebook page for people to like, so that it could be another mechanism of getting information out with the trash change. And I did just put a link to locals page, and I'm still working on the graphics because I had some issues and we haven't gotten any likes yet, but I'm working on it and we'll try to get that up and going just because a lot of people get their news from
That's
Facebook.
great.
Is that an official township media?
I created it as a page, it's official page, but it's under my account. Do we need to change that?
I don't know, I just don't know what public records you're creating and things like that. So I haven't looked into a Facebook page for.
What happened was I was logged into Facebook and then I was able to create a page and it didn't do it under my name, but it does have to have a person who's responsible for the account, it has to name a person.
You guys have
Would you-
Facebook for the
We
board?
did that Facebook page for you.
Yeah, and I like their page too. And your graphics, everything looked really good. I definitely need to continue working on it. I've been having some problems with graphics, but
We do a lot of community
So-
outreach and a lot of recruiting through ours.
Such
Really?
should beg the question. I would appreciate someone asking Austin Leclerc at the prosecutor's office if either of those fall under the sunshine laws for retention of
Records.
public records.
I created the page purposefully that you cannot comment on it, so I control all the information that is on it. No one can make a comment back to it, as far as I know, they can't, so that we don't get requests or anything through
But
Facebook, it's
to your
simply a way to get
comments-
information
To
to
your
them.
comments,
Yeah.
right now, everything that happens out of our server, out of our
Mhm.
page, our
Mhm.
webpage, and our email
Mhm.
is preserved.
Right.
And the question is, if we have this other page,
Mhm.
are we preserving the data in compliance with the sunshine laws? The things you say, you're a trustee, you're an
Mhm.
official.
Mhm.
That's-
Do you mean
that's-
public record laws? And that's not sunshine law stuff, right? That's public record.
I'll check with them
I
to
think
see
that-
what we need to,
Public record
Sunshine law
laws,
is open meeting law.
they incorporate, at least in the training, they incorporate that.
I think all the material that we have put on there are retained, like photos, and like Melanie said, there's virtually no public interaction on it, it was just community outreach messaging
I
about
just would like,
advertising.
I just would like the
I
question
just wanna make
answered
sure you
as to whether or
understand
not
what
we
we're
have Facebook pages,
Mhm.
we're crossing the line someplace, and if we need to have a protocol for how that's all maintained.
yeah, I can check with them. Like I said, I haven't done anything that's, look what the trustees are doing. It's links to the licking soil and water. That's actually a compliance for their,
I'm fine, I just wanna make sure
okay.
that we're fine.
Okay, I will check with Austin.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Been up 5 more times since the last meeting for snow and ice removal, hopefully for the last time. Used to 85 tons those last 5 occurrences. Just bring everybody up to speed on that, we contracted, was in the 110% contract with ODOT for 775 tons. We've actually purchased 840 tons. So it's 108% of that contract or something like that. But to give you an idea, we've actually used about 530 tons of salt on the year for total. The schools and the Keene Townships, which is part of that accounts for 120 tons. And we've got roughly 150 to 175 tons of storage up there, so. But we will not be purchasing any more salt in that contract. And I guess with that being said, I took a conference call today with ODOT with regards to next year's salt purchasing agreement. They've got a summer contract and a winter contract. After about an hour on the phone with them, it doesn't appear, I'd like to recommend we do not do. My initial thoughts was we would be a part of the summer contract. For the fact is the demand would be a lot lower, we'd be able to get a discounted price. They couldn't speak to that too much, other than historically, the summer contract price per ton's actually higher, a little bit higher, because the trucks are being used for asphalt and aggregate and stuff like that. So I'd like to recommend we continue doing business the way we have in the past and participate in the winter salt agreement. One of the big changes, I think I touched with those huge areas, we'll have to pass a resolution, trustees have to pass a resolution, and it's all gonna be done electronically this year, instead of you filling it out and we faxing in or Jerry faxing in. They'll have the resolution, will just be an attachment to an email. What they're requesting is giving somebody the authority to handle that, like the orders of salt, stuff like that. That's gonna all roll out, the winter salt agreement, participation agreement's gonna roll out from the beginning. We'll get paperwork on it mid-April, and then we'll have to be, and that's sometime the 1st of May. So we've got about 30 days to figure out how much salt we're gonna use next year. But I'll take care of that and probably have something ready for the next meeting for you guys.
We don't need a resolution to take a non-action, we would only need a resolution if we were going to take an action.
Correct. And with all the snow and wet weather and everything kind of moving forward, has rolled us right into potholes. I'm sure everybody's noticed, it's been a very bad year for potholes. As fast as we get them filled, they're popping right back out. As long as the rain continues till we get the frost out of the ground, it's gonna be a battle for all the guys in that for a little while, until the asphalt plants open up, which is another 60 days out or better, so. We did get the bump out at, on Silver Street by Columbia Gas. We did grind that down. We actually removed the bump sign for now. I'll be able to speak to a little bit more, and whether it continues like this, we'll get in there and dig that out. I've got some new thoughts on what's going on out there now, that I'm kind of glad we waited. We did, the backhoe that the board approved there a while back is sitting up there southeastern, ready to be picked up or delivered sometime this week, so we will be taking delivery of that later this week.
Do you need a resolution to sell the current backhoe?
I think we took care of that originally, but I would like to put our existing backhoe on good deals, and Jeff, appreciate your help, and we'll get some pictures and get that on there directly. So that's actually all I have for the roads at this time.
I have just a question. Paving contracts, any thoughts on?
Yes, I guess initially I would like to open up the next meeting, but because of the budget and everything just now getting around, we'll have something ready for the next meeting, for the trustees to take a look at. I'd like to be in a position to open those up the first meeting in April, so we can still fall under before they adjust the prices and get to, before they get their books filled.
We're paving like another half-mile road this year.
Yeah, and give me this next week, I'll be out and kind of give a look now that the roads are starting to thaw out and see if there's any damages that we wasn't expecting.
Do you know, I mean, I know I've seen this, but, can you refresh my memory which roads you will do? Can you go by memory, or you can send it to me in an email?
Yeah, we've got to pick up, Bill Edge, we skipped that. That's one off North Granville Road.
Yeah,
and
we did do
skipped
last year
that
because of the
because of the
bridge,
bridge.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I gotta talk to Terry, we'll see where they're at, maybe we could just lump together with them instead of transporting over there. But the main areas we're gonna concentrate on is gonna be the Silver Street, Orchard, Grandview, and some of those side streets over there. I can get you a list.
Okay. Is, Orchard, you said?
Yeah, Orchard.
Okay.
Wake-up call this morning was a call from the sheriff at 6:30, there was a loon crossing at one hit.
Yeah, that was the third wake-up call, I didn't tell you about the first two. We had issues with the alarm again this morning. I don't know if it got moisture or what, but the alarm company and the sheriff's department played phone tag for 3 hours this morning up here. But the last one, Paul actually took, we had a very large limb come down Cambry Mill.
Cross
Right.
Cambria Mill.
Yeah, out of a 661, but it was actually before traffic got rolling, so. Guys took care of it, did a good job with that.
Good. Cemeteries?
We've had a couple days, we've had the guys up there picking up some limbs and debris, just kind of cleaning the house, but it's really been too wet to get started too much up there at this time.
Parks and Granville District.
I don't have any more to add with works.
Melanie, you
I
said
will.
you'd accommodate me and
Yep, I'll send you the lease.
the lease and let me look at that.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I, just so you know, I didn't say this when Andy was here, but I did let you guys, I know I let you know, but I'm not sure if I told you that, I talked to Austin about that change that Andy was proposing, adding the word lease. Did I talk to you about it?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and he said it was just a difference between a property maintenance and a lease, and he said it's really how the trustees feel about it. He had no suggestion or preference one way or the other.
Because I know it was in lease to begin with.
Yeah.
Chief's report.
As you all know, I've been working on data analysis for Bill Havig in relationship to the station project. Got a big dent in that this week. We're working out about 5 or 6 different databases and some old vendors from software. So I got one database from 05 and 06 that's got corruption on a couple files, so we're trying to get that fixed. But other than that, we're about done. So I'll be trying to reach out to him and meet maybe early next week go over that. It's really interesting stuff to look at the 10-year trends and see where those changes really reside.
I thought Len Hubert's question last night was well and timely, and I didn't bring him up to it, but it gave us a chance to talk about it.
It's interesting to look at it. So that should be wrapped up here fairly soon, and we'll move forward from there. You're all well aware that we received notification of our ISO rating, going to a class 3 in June 1st. And again, ISO is what the insurance companies rate. They do their underwriting, they set their risk policies, rates on those ISO ratings. And so I gave the main report to Bill, and thank you for taking time to go through that. It's tedious, and I've been to a lot of ISO seminars and met with those guys a lot, and still there's pieces about it that are mysterious. And it's a little hard to tell exactly how they score some of those things. But I did want to just kind of hit the high points of what changed since we were last evaluated in 2009. The 911 center technology improved dramatically, and so we picked up a couple points there. So that was nice to see the end result of those processes being improved over there. Our fleet, again, scored very well. Where we didn't get many points as far as our fleet goes is reserve. We've just got a really lean fleet right now. We don't have reserve truck, we don't have reserve pumper, we don't have reserve ladder truck. In the big picture, there's only a half a point for each of those available. So it's really, I don't think most fire administrators these days think it's worthwhile having a truck just to get that half a point. And it's just a lot of maintenance and costs that would be associated with that. So I'm not too worried about not getting those little segments. I thought we did well with our deployment analysis, considering we have 72 square miles that we serve. That's a big area. They had an alternative analysis to that this year. They used to look at just road miles. This year they looked at, there's a new grading scale, and we did a detailed analysis based on actual travel times versus national standards. And we picked up some points in that area because of that analysis. So we can cover a lot of ground pretty quick out here. And I think, again, it goes back to technology, getting out of the station quickly. Those things paid off for us in that area. Staffing is a really interesting one. There's 15 points available out of 100 score for staffing. 5 years ago, we only got a little over 3 points. So we were very low in staffing, traditionally been very low. This year we got 8.2 points out of 15. So we increased dramatically. Most of that was because of the 2 SAFER grants that we've had. But there's also almost 7 more points to be picked up in staffing. So as we talk about additional staffing grants and expanding peak time, those things could impact us to where we get a few additional points in there. And by the way, we were only 2.5 points away from Class 2. There are no Class 2 fire departments in Central Ohio, including any Franklin County. So that would be an incredible accomplishment if we tipped over that Class 2 mark. So we'll see if that's attainable in the next few years. Training, we didn't score as high as I think we would have liked. Bill picked up on that. There's 9 points available there. We only scored 3 last time. We got 5 this time, so we did better. And I went and looked at the details behind training, and the one thing that we get hurt on pretty badly is we don't have any kind of training facility. So we don't have a drill tower. There's 35 points. We got no points of that 35 segment within that total 9 available points. So it's kind of a subcategory. So that was the biggest area in training where we kind of got hurt. ISO wants you to do 2 hours per man hour, or per man per day of fire training only. And so it's very, very hard to get your full training points. So that's an area that's typically people don't score as well when it's in training. The water system scored almost identically as it did last time. That's a big piece of this evaluation. So we have a good water system, and Larry at Granville Water does a nice job with that. There was a new area this year that were almost bonus points, and it really helped us a lot. There were 5.5 points available for fire prevention efforts. So that includes all of our inspections, building pre-plans, the electronic mapping with the associated plans in the trucks, the education programs that we do in the schools, and then the freshman orientation at Denison. That was an entirely new area with an available 5.5 points, and it is above the 100%. So you actually can get over 100%, even though the 100% is the best score. And so we picked up almost 4.5 points out of 5.5 points available in risk reduction is what they call that. And that really goes back to what Mike Duncan does, Tom Bowman out doing programs, the technology that's in the trucks that allows us to display all that information. That really, really helped us. And so instead of being a low Class 3, we were a high Class 3. And I think that opens the door for that next level at some point down the road. So I just wanted to kind of share with you those areas. Again, staffing is probably the most tangible thing that we can improve on. Training facilities, And then, and continue to improve training documentation probably are the areas that are attainable for us.
Can you go back to the training one? What did they, because we don't have on-site training?
Yeah, they want to see a drill tower, incorporate either a freestanding drill tower or a drill tower incorporated within your facility. And most new fire stations, they're building those as like a feature, an architectural feature within the station. So it becomes maybe part of a bay or becomes part of your entryway, and you put some drill facilities within that tower, stairways, hose connections, anchor points for rope rescues, and you bring that into your design, and then you get credit for that area. But we missed an entire 35 points within the training category because we don't have on-site facility. So that's something that we plan on incorporating into a new.
If you go over to the fire academy, they have one of those towers.
Right.
They don't give us credit for going out in the street and, never mind.
So you would want that in a
Right,
new
training.
facility,
Yeah, absolutely.
wherever the facility is, you think that?
And we've already anticipated that with all the preliminary design work that we've looked at, is having a drill facility built into the station. What you don't want to do probably is build, especially for a small community, build a freestanding building for that because it's expensive.
Right.
And just takes up valuable real estate. So what you can do is you build it into the station, it becomes part of one of the bays. So when you're not drilling in it, there's a truck parked in it. But if you want to train internally, you get that truck out of the bay, you've got a drill tower with stairs and those types of things in there. So there's a real practical application. That's the main reason we want to do it, but we would also pick up ISO training by doing, or ISO points by doing that. So anyhow, overall, really very positive. I was just pleased that we were able to get to that class 3. That's, Bill did the math on it, he puts us in the top 60% of the country. So that's pretty exciting. That class 3 will have some impact for most business premiums and many homeowners. The exception of that being State Farm. State Farm does not use ISO. But most other insurance carriers do use ISO, and I think that our local businesses will see a savings on their insurance. I did pass that on specifically to Denison, the schools, and Kendall, because I think those big complexes are gonna see that savings.
That's great.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Did I see a percentage somewhere of 16% or something of a guesstimate, or am I imagining that?
I'm sorry.
For
Oh,
some-
as far as the savings goes?
Yeah.
I don't remember putting a number to that. I'm a little cautious about telling anybody they're gonna receive any particular savings, and some people may not, but
It depends on the insurance company too.
Yeah.
it really does, and they're very.
Maybe I
very
read something
secretive.
that some could be up to, or something, I thought.
That could be.
Okay.
The last thing I just wanted to bring up tonight, within the budget planning and our strategic plan for this year is we wanted to start work on a new EMS vehicle for purchase early next year. Our EMS vehicles are approaching replacement age and they're nickel and diming us to death on repairs. So I'd like to get the committee formed to start specifications on a new truck. That's gonna take about 3 to 4 months. It looks like there's gonna be about a 6-month lead time on ordering. So if we start that process today, we're probably still looking at a delivery early next year. So I just wanted to make sure that we were open with that dialogue and that you were in agreement that it was okay to start that process now. We'll have a group of about 6 firefighters and officers working on those specifications.
Do you need a motion?
I don't know that we need a motion. I just want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with that. I
We
wouldn't want
will
to,
before we order the truck.
Oh, yeah,
Start
yeah.
speccing it.
Right,
I wouldn't want to task them with that job, though, and have you come back in 3 months, so no, we didn't want to do that. So I just want to make sure we have an open
No,
dialogue
but the
about
buy, we'll actually take delivery of fiscal year 16.
it. 16, that's the plan. Yeah.
That was our plan all along.
Well, the plan all along
We were
really was
going
to replace
to, we were gonna do, yeah.
2 and 17 is what the plan has been.
We've been talking all along about drawing the one forward because of the maintenance and the downtime and the risks associated with that.
Right. So that's the plan, is for a 2016 early delivery, and then another one in 18, would probably be the same spec.
Probably use the same spec. Anything else?
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, land management, open space.
There isn't anything to report, except the Open Space Committee will be with us in an executive session at our next meeting.
Oh, they're not coming today?
Not tonight,
Oh,
no.
okay.
No, it's next,
Oh, okay.
and Steve Lehman will pretty much handle that.
Okay.
Zoning inspector, compliance officer.
No, just real quick, issued one permit for 2228 Loudon Street, and that's for a new dwelling. Pretty straight, that was the actual dwelling that sparked the conversations for the lot of 5, less than 5 acres out there, if you remember, about a year ago now, or better. That's finally getting put back. own foundation, so. Did grant approval for a minor lot split on Welsh Hills Road, that's the Masterson property we've talked about a couple times. With the new changes with the county planning commission, we have to approve that first, then it gets kicked back down to there, and they'll take care of it from there. There is a BZA hearing for the variance request pertaining to 1553 Welsh Hills Road. That's this coming Tuesday, March 17th at 7 p.m. And that was for the gentleman that came in here 2 meetings ago, I guess. Yeah, John Knoblich. So that's all I have for that.
Melanie, zoning commission.
Actually, came back to zoning compliance officer. I had gotten approval from y'all to do the stationery for $500, and I didn't quite spend all that. And Travis and I were looking at our zoning permit, and I've been trying to work on recreating it. It's hard to fit it all in one line. Long story short, the guy who did the stationery said he would take a stab at it for $40. So I asked him to do that under the same invoice that he's going to send us for the stationery. He was able to put everything onto one form. Travis was able to look at it, but our resolution says that the trustees do need to accept all applications and forms that are given out for Granville Township. So I wondered if anybody had any issue with it. The form that we had was created in 1963, and it's not even it's a PDF. You can't even get it online to manipulate. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use this as our official form unless anyone has an objection. Okay. That's all I have.
Zoning commission.
Well, they have their next meeting. Oh, I have to pull the calendar up.
They meet on the 16th, the regular scheduled meeting, I believe. And then they've got the public hearing on the 23rd.
And then another meeting on the 24th.
Okay, so
Is that right?
I don't think on the 24th, I think on the 31st.
31st.
31st, okay, I knew it was a Tuesday. I thought that he was going to Tuesday after, but he was a week later.
so that I'm clear,
The 23rd is for Old Farm.
the 23rd is the public hearing, the new public hearing for Old Farm.
Correct.
That was
Right.
provoked by the meeting with the prosecutor and the county engineer.
Engineer's office, yes.
Okay, and the 31st is Sycamore?
Yes, that's more rich.
That's a new PD.
That's a new PUD, is that the public hearing for
That
that?
is the public hearing.
Is that the public? The
I
first?
believe so.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because they did the
31st is
notifications.
Sycamore
Yeah.
And that is the public hearing, that's not a work session, that's a public hearing.
Public hearing.
Right, yeah, because they sent
And
notifications.
those will be noticed properly?
I don't have anything for Sycamore.
No, I haven't given it to you yet because it's not gonna be until the 31st. So I probably will give that to you this Friday,
Okay.
because I didn't wanna do it too soon.
And you've located the addresses and everything for Rob for,
They gave the address.
they gave it to you, okay.
And the one that's on the 16th is for,
It's a regular scheduled
That's just a
meeting.
regular
it's a
scheduled
scheduled
meeting.
meeting, okay.
So if I get that as soon as possible, Betsy,
Okay.
just because I'm gonna be a grandpa again on Friday, so.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
Used to be you didn't know, now you know. What else?
And next one would be the BZA, or ZBA, and they are meeting, last I heard was the 17th. Is that still the meeting,
That's what
Betsy?
was recorded.
Yes.
And that's to
Tuesday.
hear that
No, the-
public,
St. Patrick's Day, yes.
Oh, you said ZBA?
Yeah,
The
no,
price of BZ,
Okay, whatever. I thought you were going with
Sorry,
the zoning
no.
commission.
and that's to hear that Knobloch request,
So we got 16th, 17th, 23rd, 31st.
okay? Anything else?
now you know why Betsy needs work so much.
I spent probably 3 or 4 days working with the ODNR, all day, actually, trying to get the submittal, the first submittal for the grant monies. And as Jerry pointed out, we've made that submission, or I've made that submission, and that is for, that will net us $132,348 of the $150 that the grant allows. The grant ends in June. If we don't make the remaining submission for the remaining 18,000 before then, we lose it. But I have submitted for everything that has been paid for by ODOT, so I can't submit anymore until there's some more spend. They're supposed to start construction on the bridge any day now,
In February.
end of February, yeah, weather permitting. So we'll start to see some bills pretty fast, and we'll get that last 18,000, I believe. I would move that we, or I would just suggest that we eliminate policy to appoint committee members. I don't think we need to do anything more there and have it on every meeting schedule. Is there any disagreement with that? We asked Gary Sittler to speak earlier on oil and gas, so that's taken care of. And Melanie, you want to talk about MS4 some more?
No, I said everything I needed to say on that.
Okay, we got bids at the last meeting to farm the property at 37 and James Road. And we asked for some time to think about options. I know you're working on options, but I think we formally need tonight to reject all bids and work on looking at possible sale of the property, which you're looking at, Melanie, for. So my motion is that we reject all bids for farming that property.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And it's still listed as tax exempt, as a tax exempt property. I did not file for CAUV.
Is there additional information that you would all like me to gather about this? I did talk to,
My suggestion is that we talk to Mr. Lehman in the executive session about the sale of the property when he's in at the next meeting, and I think we'll make some decisions as a result of that conversation.
okay,
Are you okay with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. We made a run at aggregation. Melanie led that charge some months ago, and the prices came in substantially higher than we thought they were going to, and we decided not to do anything at the time. Integris Constellation has submitted a proposal to us for 2 years to fix our electric prices within the township and the village at 6.14 cents. They include in that proposal no termination fees, no early termination fees. Budget billing will be supported, and they will reimburse us $3,500, which approximates what we had to spend to put that on the ballot the last time, so that comes back to us. The village is favorably inclined to do this, and because of timing, I would ask, I will make a resolution that we support and you approve Jerry or me to sign the contract with Integris Constellation to start budget billing in June of this year at 16.14 cents per kilowatt hour. My last bill was at 8 cents a kilowatt hour, so that's fairly substantial, and it locks it up for 2 years. All of the components that were in the request the last time, budget billing, no termination fees, ability to come into the program midterm and benefit from it, are all incorporated in this, and if they are not in the contract, when the contract arrives, I would not sign it. So I'm asking for permission to sign it, not a mandate to sign it, if it incorporates all of this. The other condition is the village will need to vote on this as well, and that unless the village affirms support of this program, that we wouldn't do it either.
And I know the last time that Ruth mentioned something to me about this, we weren't sure if they were gonna have to go back to the council. They will go back to council for,
I talked to both Molly and Steve today, and they would feel comfortable doing that. And this is the off week. They're actually, tonight, they're hearing the end of the solar panel hearings
Oh, okay.
tonight.
so not till next Wednesday would be.
No, it would be 2 weeks from Monday, because they meet on Mondays, I think, don't they?
No, they meet on Wednesday.
Okay, well, it would be,
Oh, yeah, planning commission's Monday.
okay, so it would be 2 weeks on,
Okay. Well, no,
It would
next
be
week.
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
okay, be 1 week on.
So, and ours would be contingent upon them having,
It's contingent on 2 things. It's contingent on their action, identical action to ours, and it's contingent on the contract incorporating everything that I've articulated tonight, which is all of the requests that we made and the price for 2 years. Now, I did ask, because we have residents that seem to think we from time to time take away their constitutional rights by signing a garbage contract, and they can go to no one else but local. These people will get a letter from Integris saying, if you don't want, we're the new people, and if you don't want us, you gotta call us and opt out. Okay, I'm told that there will be a second letter from AEP, the current vendor. It says, oh, by the way, did you know you've been changed? And you need to call and opt out. So they'll get 2 warnings, notices, before they're incorporated in the program. Anybody that's currently in a contract with somebody else, or anybody that's with the energy cooperative, will not be allowed to come in until they end their current agreement. So people will get lots of notice that this is coming. We can decide in advance of June if we want to do an email blast or a phone blast, let people know it's coming. But it's about a 20-some% savings from where we are now and guaranteed for 24 months. And what I can only describe as a real fickle energy pricing. So
I think when we
I'm
were
happy.
looking at it on, we had the committee, I think we were, promised 0.58, is that the best, do you remember that?
That was from the fall.
And then when they went back out and actually got the numbers, and they got the, the numbers from the PUCO, they weren't able to promise that number anymore. And I know that there were other changes there. Even when we went back though, we weren't in that range.
Some like good numbers and prices have been going up.
Yeah, prices, my last bill was at 8 cents, so 6.14 is attractive. So I've made a motion that you allow but not mandate me to sign the contract so long as it meets all the conditions I've articulated.
I can second that.
Got a motion, second, is there any more discussion?
Yes, should I abstain from that in as much as, I mean, I don't have pecuniary interest one way or another.
That's
which
why,
is
you don't benefit from voting on it because you're in the energy cooperative.
Mhm.
So in my opinion, it's completely reasonable for you to vote.
And you do represent all the residents of the entire township.
You don't benefit from this. Okay, is there any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thanks. That's great.
You and Molly and Jerry set the groundwork, all I happen to be.
No, it's all about
the
timing.
person that was here when the wheel went round. Okay,
I'm glad it finally came around.
yeah, and there's gonna be some discussion in the community about that. Is there any new business to be brought before the board? We don't need an executive session tonight. I would move to adjourn.
Second?
Got a motion, second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The mayor promised me that she would text